The headlines love to tell you that China is on the verge of collapse. They paint this picture of a struggling economy, talent fleeing the country, and a nation shutting itself off from the world. But I'm on the ground here, and what I see every day tells a totally different story. It's a story of non-stop construction, subways so packed you can barely breathe, and an energy that's just impossible to ignore. Look, the story about China's decline is dramatic, and it gets clicks, but it might just be the biggest head fake of the 21st century. Because while the media is obsessed with who's leaving, they're missing the much bigger picture, the surprising wave of people, ideas, and money flooding into the country. Yeah, the title of this video is Why Everyone's Moving to China. Is that a bit of an exaggeration? Of course it is. But it's designed to make you think. The truth is, something big is happening here that goes against everything you've been hearing. Today, we're digging into the real story behind the surge in travel investment and relocations that nobody seems to be talking about. So, what's really going on? Section 1. The Great Reopening. First, let's get one thing straight. The idea of everyone packing up and moving to China for good? That's a myth. China actually has more people leaving than arriving to settle permanently. The foreign-born population is a tiny, tiny fraction of the country's 1.4 billion people. The real story isn't about mass immigration. It's about a massive, unprecedented wave of temporary movement, a flood of tourists, business travelers, and students. After years of being locked down, China has thrown its doors wide open, and the world is rushing in. In 2024, the country saw inbound tourism numbers skyrocket, with some estimates putting the total around 131.9 million visitors. That's a jump of over 61% from the year before, bringing visitor numbers nearly all the way back to what they were. In just the first 3 quarters of 2024, the country logged over 94 million inbound trips. So, what's driving this? It's a deliberate and honestly aggressive strategy to reconnect with the world. China has been massively expanding its visa-free policies as of early 2026. If you're a citizen from one of about 50 countries, we're talking France, Germany, the UK, Australia, Canada, and many more, you can just waltz in for up to 30 days, no visa required. This policy, which runs through the end of 2026, has been a total game changer. The effect was instant. In 2024, a staggering 20.1 million foreigners entered visa-free, a jump of over 112%. By the third quarter of 2024, these visa-free entries made up more than 72% of all entries by foreigners. On top of that, the government has expanded its transit visa-free program to 240 hours, that's 10 full days, making it super easy for travelers to add a long stopover in China. There's a new one, 5-day visa-free policy for cruise passengers, and the entire island of Hainan now offers 3 0-day visa-free access to people from 59 countries. These aren't small changes. They're a clear signal that China wants the world to come visit. You can feel the results everywhere. During the 2026 New Year holiday, the country saw 207 million passenger trips on the very first day. The 2026 Spring Festival is expected to smash records with 9.5 billion trips, with an average of over 2 million international trips every single day. You feel this energy on the streets, in the airports, and at the tourist sites. It's a feeling of a country not just reopening, but roaring back onto the world stage. This isn't about population stats. It's about presence, connection, and a global vote of confidence measured in footsteps. Section 2. The money magnet. Okay, so people aren't moving here to live forever. But what about the money? The headlines will point out that foreign direct investment, or FDI, dropped in 2025 by about 9.5%. And they're not wrong. But that's where the story usually stops. And it misses the massive shift happening just beneath the surface. While the total value of investment has dipped, the number of foreign companies setting up shop here has absolutely exploded. In 2025, a record-breaking 392 new foreign invested companies were established in China. That's a 19.1% increase from the year before. Just let that sink in for a second. While some money is moving around, more foreign companies than ever are deciding they have to be in China. This isn't a retreat. It's a strategic repositioning. Businesses are being more careful with their cash, but they are planting their flags here in record numbers. The next question is, why? The answer is China's 15th five-year plan, which just kicked off in 2026. This isn't just some boring government document. It's a roadmap for shifting the entire economy away from being the world's chip factory and toward becoming a high-tech, innovation-driven powerhouse. The plan is all about what they're calling new quality productive forces. Think strategic sectors like AI, semiconductors, biotech, green energy, and advanced manufacturing. And that's exactly where the smart money is going. In 2025, nearly a third of all foreign investment, 32.3% to be exact, poured into these high-tech industries. We saw high-tech investment from Canada jump by over 11%, while the UK's rose by almost 16%. The government is basically rolling out the red carpet, cutting red tape, and removing barriers. The negative list, which says what foreigners can't invest in, has been trimmed down, and manufacturing now has almost zero restrictions. It's created a kind of modern-day gold rush. Look at the electric vehicle industry. Giants like Tesla and BMW aren't just selling cars here, they're expanding their factories to be part of the world's biggest and most advanced EV market. Michelin just opened a $425 million future factory in Shanghai, specifically for new energy vehicles. German retailer Müller is opening its first ever Asian store in Shanghai later this year, with plans for hundreds more. Walmart is opening new Sam's Clubs, and the UK's Reckitt is launching a new global R&D center. This isn't just about selling to 1.4 billion people anymore. It's about being part of the most dynamic innovation ecosystem for these critical future industries. Companies are figuring out that to be a global leader in AI or green tech, you have to be in China. The competition is insane, but as one exec said, the Chinese market pushes their entire company to innovate faster. They aren't just manufacturing in China anymore. They are innovating for China, and more, innovating for the world from China. Meet video, CTA. What we've covered so far is a word away from the story you usually get. We're seeing a flood of visitors and a stampede of high-tech investment. If you're finding this on the ground perspective valuable and want to understand the real trends shaping the world's second-largest economy, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I'm committed to bringing you the stories you won't find anywhere else, and your support helps me do that. Section 3. The new global headquarters. This flood of cash isn't just about companies parking their money. It's a much deeper commitment. We're seeing companies physically move their core operations, R&D centers, business units, even strategic headquarters to China. They get that being close to this market is no longer a choice. It's a matter of survival. The story isn't just made in China anymore. It's designed in China and managed from China. To make this happen, China has set up a network of 22 free trade zones, or FTZs. These are basically experimental labs for the economy, offering foreign companies special treatment, easier customs, and better market access. The Hainan Free Trade Port is the most extreme example, an entire island province being turned into a global hub for trade and investment. These zones are magnets for businesses looking to get serious about their presence here. A recent KPMG report found that 67% of multinational executives see China as irreplaceable in their business plans. Analysts at Goldman Sachs and UBS point to the stability of China's supply chains and its tech-driven exports as key reasons why companies are staying put despite all the political noise. For many, China isn't just another market. It's the center of gravity for their future growth. For example, the French company Legrand recently moved its entire smart lighting business to Wuxi to build a global IoT research hub because the city had the complete industrial chain they needed. Another CEO of a European auto group said his Chinese factory had become the most profitable subsidiary in their entire global network. And you can't talk about business in China without talking about Hong Kong. For decades, it's been the main gateway to the mainland, and that role is becoming even more important now. Hong Kong is aligning its own development plan with the National 15th Five-Year Plan, branding itself as a super connector for finance, tech, and talent. Its trusted legal and financial systems, combined with its perfect position in the Greater Bay Area, make it the ideal launchpad for international companies. The story of business moving to China is one of strategy. It's about companies moving from the edge of their operations to the very core, embedding themselves in an ecosystem they believe will define the next generation of global industry. And while some companies are shifting parts of their supply chains to places like Vietnam, many are simultaneously doubling down on their most important, high-value work. Right here, a nuance that always gets lost in the headlines. Section 4. The human element. Beyond all the big picture trends, there's a really personal side to this story. For the individuals who do choose to move here, their decisions are usually a mix of push factors from back home and powerful pull factors from China. It's no secret that many Western countries are dealing with some major headaches. The expats I talk to here often bring up the pressures they felt back home, crazy inflation eating into their savings, political division that makes daily life feel draining, and in some places, real worries about crime and personal safety. These aren't just news headlines for them. They're real-life issues that make you consider a major change. So what pulls them here? The number one reason I hear, over and over, is safety. There's a feeling of public security in Chinese cities that many foreigners find incredibly freeing. The ability to walk home alone, late at night, let your kids take the subway by themselves, or leave your laptop on a cafe table while you go order these little things add up to a huge improvement in quality of life. The second pull factor is the sheer convenience and incredible infrastructure. China's high-speed rail, its futuristic airports, and a seamless digital life run by apps like WeChat and Alipay aren't just cool gadgets. They completely change your day-to-day existence. The efficiency of it all can make life in many Western cities feel slow and outdated. For just a few bucks, you can get a clean, fast taxi across a megacity. For a few cents, you can get anything from groceries to a hot meal delivered to your door in under an hour. And finally, for a lot of people, the biggest pull is career opportunity. If you're an ambitious professional in a field like AI, green energy, robotics, or e-commerce, China is where the action is. It's a place where you can help build whole industries from the ground up at a scale and speed that is just unmatched anywhere else. It's a chance to jumpstart your career in a way that might take decades back home. But let's be real for a second. It's not all a walk in the park. Life in China has its own set of challenges, from the cultural learning curve to figuring out how to navigate the information environment. But for a growing number of people, the trade-offs are worth it. They're drawn by the promise of safety, incredible convenience, and the chance to be on the front lines of global innovation. Their stories add a vital human layer to the economic trends, showing why, for some, China has become the most compelling place to be right now. Conclude. So, let's go back to that title, Why Everyone's Moving to China. As we've seen, the reality is way more nuanced, and honestly, a lot more interesting than the headline lets on. It's not about a mass exodus of people setting up new lives, and it won't show up in the demographic stats. In fact, China is facing serious long-term demographic problems with a shrinking workforce and an aging population. The real story, the one you see on the ground, is one of strategic and deliberate reconnection. It's a story of open doors, with a wave of tourists and travelers taking advantage of groundbreaking visa-free policies. It's a story of smart money, with a record number of foreign companies rushing in, not just to build things, but to innovate and lead in the industries that will define our future. And it's a story of human ambition, of people looking for the safety, convenience, and the career opportunities they feel are disappearing elsewhere. The narrative of China's collapse is simple, it's dramatic, and it gets a lot of clicks. But the story of its transformation is complex, and ultimately, way more important. The movement to China isn't about people moving their homes, but about the world moving its attention, its capital, and its strategic focus toward a country that remains one of the most powerful forces shaping the 21st century. Now that you've heard the side of the story the media isn't telling you, I'd love to know what you think. Did any of this surprise you? What do you think is the biggest misconception about China today? Let me know in the comments below.